Hello there, friends, foes, and all those in between. My name is Jeremy Ball.
And I'm Seth Tallman.
And today we're going to be talking about Don Bluth. Don Bluth, he's launched a new studio. He's trying to, this lead the renaissance of hand-drawn animation. I mean, he's pretty much trying to bring back 2D art. So we're just going to do a little video talking about whether that's going to be effective or not, whether it's actually worth it.
Well,
I believe
that, yeah.
I believe it is. I think it's worth it.
I believe in it. I just don't believe other people do. All right, let's get into it. So,
why is that? Why is it you don't think other people be into it?
2D animation is just traditional hand-drawn animation. We all know this, or at least the people who actually do research know this, is that it requires a lot of talent, a lot of know-how. It's a completely different school of thought and in process from like 3D animation, or it's basically like taking sheets of paper, sketching them out, flipping back and forth under a backlight, and making sure everything looks good, sketching it out, and then you hire someone to trace it around, and then you hire someone to color it. It's just a completely different process rather than, you know.
I mean, yeah, all that, but I mean, why wouldn't people be into that? I mean, not about the process. I just think they'll be into the art when they see it.
Yeah, I get you. I was leading into that, Jeremy, but it's the process that makes it limiting. Like, for someone to study all this time, and for someone to put that much effort, and for so many people to put that much effort into just producing one single two-dimensional image, I don't think people appreciate the effort that goes into it, and they're just like, oh, it looks like some cartoon from the 80s or 90s. It's like, it lacks that appeal to the current, as we all call them, Gen Z. Or is there some other Gen?
I think it's because of lack of exposure to it. I mean, in truth, yeah, Gen Z and them, they're into this 3D animation junk. But I mean, let's be real. The whole thing is that they haven't been exposed to this. If the best example of that is I can show my kids an original Bugs Bunny cartoon from Looney Tunes, like way back, Merry Melodies. And the artwork on it is phenomenal. It's like the Disney stuff versus the new stuff that they put out. My kids know the absolute difference when they see it now. It's because they weren't exposed to it. And they love the old ones now, not because of the content, because they had a whole lot of weird racist junk and everything. But it's not because of the content. It's because, I'm telling you, the art is that much better.
I'm not going to argue with you. The art is better. I mean, look at the title underneath. I mean, look at underneath the title, Don Bluth, animator behind The Land Before Time. That's what I want to comment on for a split second. My son is almost 5 years old. He loves The Land Before Time. It's fun to look at. I'm sure he'll tell the difference between a cheap 3D animation and that hand-drawn, raw, film-looking thing. It just draws you in, all the contrast and the deep colors and the hand-drawn animation. It just, even a child can tell the difference. But we're talking about children here, and children here aren't exactly the most discerning viewers of all time. We're talking about people who actually, I don't know.
I think they are. I think they are. And here's the thing: is because I think the 3D models have played themselves out. They've seen all that, and that's the whole thing. To them, it's a new thing. It's not an old thing. It's a new thing. And I mean, a direct example is Disney's got a streaming service, right? Okay, what's the biggest things on, or what's some of the biggest things on streaming service? It's the Disney movies, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
The majority of them are what?
2D
and drawn.
Yeah,
they're all 2D. You tell the kids are already watching this junk to begin with, and they're obviously watching it in mass. So the fact is that they're already seeing it and enjoying it. So therefore,
their parents are forcing them to watch them like I do mine. Dude, you can watch The Lion King right now. You don't watch that. You don't watch that remake. You watch The Lion King from 1994. I think it's 94.
Well, I mean, you got to think there's a lot of good movies. I never want to watch White Heat if my dad hadn't made me, but I love White Heat. There's a lot of movies like that. I mean, Casablanca, stuff like that. That I was like, I don't want to watch it. And then my dad just ends up watching it, and I just watch it with him, and I realized how good the movie was. So parents forcing kids to watch it, I don't know, I wouldn't say forcing, just kind of like, come on, watch it with me. I mean.
Well, I love how you bring up Casablanca, because Casablanca is a black and white film. And
Yes.
despite your father showing you the black and white film, are you calling for a resurgence of black and white film?
Well, if it's good, I mean, we saw Sin City, didn't we? It had a little bit of red in there.
Yeah, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the majority was black and white. That was a great film.
Yeah, but let's be honest, black and white, just like two-dimensional animation, is kind of a relic of the past.
Well, the thing is, though, is that black and white was because of a constraint. 2D animation is not.
True that. You can still do 2D animation with modern techniques, but
Yeah. I guess it was kind of a constraint because they couldn't do the 3D animation like they
yeah,
wanted.
it was a constraint originally, but it's not anymore. I mean, look to all those YouTube animators doing the 2D animations and
This is all true, but I mean, just like down here at the bottom, they're going about it the right way. They're doing Dragon's Lair, the arcade, which is a great game. It's impossible to beat at the arcade because nobody had that many quarters. But the whole thing is that, I mean, you can put that game in an arcade right now and kids would be drawn to it versus the other ones out there, which there ain't a whole lot anymore. But I mean, still, even when the arcades were big, people were still drawn to the game. Everybody knew you couldn't do crap on it, but you still throw quarters in it every once in a while and try to beat it just because it looks so dang cool. And that's the whole thing. He's doing it the smart way because they're doing Dragon's Lair with Ryan Reynolds. I mean, how you going to go wrong? Once that movie drops, yeah, it's right here at the bottom.
Ryan Reynolds is
Yep.
being the main guy from the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, so that right there, that's in game. As soon as he does that, I'm telling you, people are gonna be like, yeah, I want to go back and watch that. I want to go back and play that. I want to go back and do this and all that other stuff like that. Besides that, nostalgia is a big thing. Kids constantly go back and do things because they're older and they want to, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just what it is. I mean, in the 90s, people started wearing bell bottoms again. I mean, it wasn't because it was, gone. It's just there's some things that are cool that come back from the past and kids latch onto it. That is what it is.
I mean,
And
to be honest, I mean, the masses are fickle and no telling what they're going to latch onto next. But as for a resurgence of hand-drawn, two-dimensional animation, I really do not see that happening, man. I just don't see the people latching onto it.
I do. And it's because, like I said, the kids are already being exposed to it. And the exposure to it is turning out good. It's not turning out bad. Kids aren't not watching the old Disney films because they're hand-drawn. The thing about the 2D hand drawing isn't the fact that, number one, like I said, it's spectacular in its own right, and it won't look like 80s films. It won't. 80s. The reason these look like 80s films is because the color was a situation back then. They won't have that constraint anymore. That's what made them look 80s. It'll just be awesome art mixed with good story in it.
I mean, we've already seen what HD 2D animation looks like with Princess and the Frog, and it looks fantastic.
Yes.
It has no color constraints whatsoever. It's perfectly HD. It looks fantastic. It's
Yes.
just that if I recall, to my recollection, and I don't know the exact numbers, I just don't recall the Princess and the Frog becoming a Disney staple.
Yes, but the princess, number one, she wasn't a real, I mean, yes, she's a princess according to their standards, but it's not a real princess story, man. I mean, we all know it's Hans Christian Andersen did all the princess stories, and that's the truth of it. They tried to create a new one. Of course, it didn't blow up because nobody knows that story from Jack Krapp, and they tried to say, you should know this story. That was more of a thing they did just because Obama was in office. Let's get freaking real. I mean, that's all it was. Pandering. They did that. And here's the thing. It wasn't a bad thing because they were trying to give young black girls a princess. It's not a bad thing. It's just it wasn't well known. So, of course, the numbers went up on it because most people are like, oh, okay, the Princess Frog thing, I guess. They don't know. But, I mean, as we've seen, the difference is that it's not whether the princess is white or black or brown or whatever. That's not really the relevant thing because Moana did very well, and so did Frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are still relative princesses, and I know I know you're thinking I'm proving your point with that they're not 2D, but the truth of the matter is I don't think that's actually it. I think it was the story. The story was more appealing with those two. Besides that, it's actually not even that. Really, it's the songs.
Oh, true that. Yeah.
That's the truth. The Princess and the Frog they weren't bad. They didn't have that appeal to the mass.
Yeah, they didn't have that pop music appeal.
Yes, and as much as I hate pop music, I mean, the truth of the matter is that, well, not all pop music, but you know what I'm saying. It's just one of those things that cheesy pop music, it appeals to the masses, especially the children. And Frozen wouldn't have been as big as it was if it wasn't for that one flipping song that I've heard a million times because of my children. That's really the truth of it. I mean, you put
So
2D.
you're telling me that if a traditional two-dimensional hand-drawn animated movie were to come out tomorrow with slamming songs and wonderful hand-drawn animation and a good story, you think the masses would latch onto it?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's not relevant. I don't think the ship it's sailing on is relevant. It's whether the content is good. I think that the 2D animation, though, that's what I'm saying. I think it has a possibility to come back because, like I said, number one, it's old and it's a resurgence. Resurgence of older things sometimes do very well. On top of that, this is an awesome thing to resurge. It's not. This isn't a questionable thing. The art is amazing, and people see it's amazing. And like I said, it's not that it's they're going to go, oh, this art isn't amazing. I mean, if that was the result, I could see it. Like bell-bottom pants, people can go, those are ugly. And some people go, no, they're cool. But there's not going to be anybody going, oh, that's ugly. It's just going to be like, well, it's just not my thing. I mean, that's about all you can do, really. There's not really a whole lot you can really say about, oh, I don't really like the look of this. It's going to be looking good.
Yeah, you're convincing me a little bit, just a little bit. However,
Well, like
I would say if a traditional 2D animated movie were to come out and to win over the masses, it would have to be the next Frozen. It would literally have to be the next Frozen. It would have to have the popular appeal. And I mean, Frozen didn't even have a good story, dude. I don't know why people latch onto it so much. I guess it's because Let It Go, that awesome song, which I love Let It Go, but I'll never say that again in my whole life. I love Let It Go. Awesome song, dude. It's awesome.
Well, I tell you this is the Secret of Nihm kind of is what I'm looking for. That's the difference. Because I'm telling you, did you ever watch it?
Yes.
Dude, the Secret of Nihm has that nice darkness. That's really the thing. They really understood how to balance that where that fear factor is gone in most kids' movies nowadays. It's not really a creepy, oh no, it might be dangerous. Everything's all happy. And I think adding that kind of an atmosphere, I mean, these are the guys that did the Secret of Nihm, crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know he's going to, and I mean, he did All Dogs Go to Heaven. All Dogs Go to Heaven, Secret of Nihm, Land Before Time. All of those have a brooding darkness to them.
Did he do The Great Mouse Detective? I'm looking that up.
I don't know. I think that's actually just a good Disney look.
Yeah, I'm looking that up. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, because most of these actually were not Disney films.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I don't think any of them. Don Bluth is outside of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Which that's the other thing. That he was always kind of a B level even back then. But it's not B level because of the quality. It was B level because they just weren't Disney. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. I'm still looking. Why is this so hard to find out? That same year as Don Bluth. No, Don Bluth did An American Tale.
Oh, well, even better.
Yeah, so, that's kind of in the same.
The success.
Okay.
The success is there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, if you look at each one of these, that's the thing that really matters is the story. Okay, American Tale, freaking. what was it? Hang on, let me roll that down. What was it? American Tale, freaking Secret of Nihm, Land for Time, All Those Go to Heaven. I didn't watch Anastasia, so I can't quote.
Anastasia. Okay. So Anastasia was awesome. Once Upon a December is. Speaking of songs, Once Upon a December is on the same level as Let It Go. Like,
see what I'm saying?
Awesome songs.
I think it's a possibility. I think it's a high possibility, and it's Netflix is backing it too. So here's the other thing: the one person that can give Disney any kind of competition is Netflix, because they're still holding up. If they'll get out of this, political crap and just make some good freaking shows, which they have done. Daredevil's a good show.
Daredevil season one. Season 1 now.
Yeah,
season 2,
as long
as season 3 was good, but season 1 of Daredevil, ooh,
Well,
So
that's kind of what I'm saying. The whole thing is that if they let the people that know what they're doing do what they do, which if they let Don Bluth go, I'm telling you, I think this will be good. And they're going to try some in the first place with this whole what is it? Don Bluth's Fables, which is Aesop Fables. Is it kind of, I guess, is what it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's
yeah,
similarities to various nursery rhymes and Aesop Fables. I love Aesop Fables.
yeah,
They're fantastic.
yeah.
So, I mean, if he's doing some kind of variation on those, it's going to end up being good. It's going to end up being good. And when it is good, the kid's going to latch on. It doesn't really matter that it's 2D, but the thing about that is that if he starts doing them in 2D and they do latch on, the kids will start wanting the 2D. They won't want
massive popularity to get the masses latched on to 2D animation again. I think here's the deal. It's going to start with one awesome independently produced, maybe even a Netflix series of 2D traditional animation. That's going to catch on, kind of in the same vein of Stranger Things. Any other awesome Netflix series is Dragon Prince. I think that's a Netflix original that
yeah.
actually caught on, but it's awesome. It's going to start as like a sort of independent sort of thing. And then maybe that'll get the ball rolling and get the masses' attention back on 2D traditional animation. But, okay, hold on. Hold that look. I know that look. Let's back up a bit. I do agree with your sentiment that the media is the message. Okay? It doesn't matter what it looks like, as long as the story's good, as long as it doesn't look cheap, and as long as people just like it in general. It's got a general good aesthetic. It's got a good story. It's just awesome all around. I don't care if it's 3D. I don't care if it's 2D. I don't care if it's live action. People are gonna love it.
I can actually prove that point. I can prove my theory.
Prove it.
You know, Shrek. Shrek was a lower end 3D animation studio that started doing Shrek. Shrek's first movie was not really that well animated. It's good for what it is, but it wasn't Disney's standard, not even close. But Shrek, if they tried to take and make it with a Disney studio, people would have shied away from it because they got used to that one look. So therefore, that's what I'm saying. If the story's good and they sell this through 2D and the story's good and people latch onto that, if they have 2 more movies on the end of it of the same storyline, if they change formats, people won't want to watch it. They'll want the 2D. People are very hard-nosed about what they like. And once they like something, they're very adamant about changing it. Don't change this. Don't do this. Don't do that. So all they have to do is release one good movie in this format and then release another one. It's golden. It's done. It'll bring back 2D.
Based on that Shrek scenario you just gave me, this ice-breaking, revolutionary 2D traditional animated movie or series cannot be created by Disney because it's not up to the Disney standard, or at least it could be up to the Disney standard of animation the way it used to be.
Yeah.
But it's not up to the 3D established standard of now.
Yes. But see, that's the other thing is that you're also looking at the underdog factor as well. Don Bluth's always been the underdog, and I think that's why he stepped as well. But I mean, even at the underdog, as the underdog, I mean, Five-O, those freaking stories, man, those were huge. These are not small movies. That's the other thing. The guy knows what he's doing. So I think he's got the chops to make this a standard for his own kind of company, just like Shrek did. I mean, Shrek made, what, 5 movies? 5? Something like that. 4 or 5. I can't remember.
I'm in my late 20s. I lost track of Shrek by now.
Oh, dude, I did. My kids watch them constantly. And they're good. Shrek movies are good.
Oh, I mean, the original Shrek and Shrek 2, and then Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After. Oh, yeah. I'm on board with those. I just don't know what's happened after that.
Oh, I don't know either. But, I mean, the bottom line is that, like I said, they made it a standard for that type of – that animation is Shrek's. And taking that and saying, okay, well, we're going to put Shrek in another format, it would not work. So they basically built a niche for themselves. It's a niche market for Shrek. But the thing is that if you do this the same way, any stories that come out from these people, people will look for it to be into that studio, and it'll be a Bluth thing. I mean, good example, best example.
Studio Ghibli.
Exactly. That's where I was going. It's a true fact, man. People expect that art to look like that, and if it don't, it ain't right. And he makes buku dollars, and that's 2D, baby.
Isn't he out of Studio Ghibli nowadays?
I don't know. I think he retired.
Yeah, I think he's out
I
of it
can't remember what it was. But that's a very similar thing.
So you're saying, Studio Ghibli, talk about like God tier level impossible to emulate. Are you saying an American studio would have to become the next Studio Ghibli in order for 2D animation to take off again?
Well, see, in my opinion, that's the other difference, though. I think Don Bluth, his animation was always better than Disney's, in my opinion. Disney's animated films were okay. They were okay, but they had made a standard for themselves, just like we're talking. That's the whole thing. Don Bluth always had an artistic edge, in my opinion. And it was because of the darkness and the creepiness and the weird things they would throw in there. They weren't afraid to make characters look evil or to make cool things happen to them. I mean, Nicodemus and all the characters from Secret of Nihm, man. I mean, dude, they're ugly and they're evil looking. It's not pretty, happy people. And here's somebody that's kind of messed up. It was all messed up, and it had an edge to it that that Disney never. I mean, they never emulated that. They never.
Don't you think
they wanted to? But
yeah, don't you think Disney shied away from that kind of style because it's not commercially viable?
Well, see, that's the whole thing. Then, 1950s, 60s, and 70s, then it wasn't viable. But now it is, as we see with Ghibli.
True. I do think audience mindsets have been expanded.
Yes. Well, kids are
desensitized in ways, but we won't get into that.
Well, kids have been desensitized to a lot of things. And the darkness that was in those films is more like a film that would actually meet with kids nowadays. I mean, my kids will bypass Disney films and watch Willow. They love Willow. It's weird, but they love Willow. And it's because it's dark. They like that dark tinge to it. It's just, there's certain things that kids latch onto nowadays they didn't latch onto used to.
Exactly, dude. I mean, I grew up on the Ridley Scott film Legend.
Yes.
Dude, it's so dark. And that's just something I grew up with. And it imprinted on me, man, that dark fantasy. It imprints on you much, much more than the idealistic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs kind of, which is slightly dark, but they gloss over it so much. That Disney glossing over darkness does not resonate with you. It creates for a pleasant viewing experience while you're looking at it, but will it truly shape you? Will it truly, will you really be laying in your bed in your late 20s like me, thinking about Legends still?
The thing is that I think that Bluth missed his time is all it was. I mean, because you had Disney did all those big animation films in that time period. He kind of started his stride in the 80s. In the 80s and the 90s when it was already going out. I mean, it was good for Saturday morning cartoons, but the big movies, I mean, they were still big movies. Like I said, it's just they weren't Disney big anymore. It was a big action movie time. It was still all that darkness. I mean, as I was a kid, that's why I was drawn to him, because I was drawn to that kind of stuff. It's just that he didn't have Disney's money. He didn't have that kind of a backing at that point. But this one, obviously, he will because Netflix is back.
Okay.
At least for the live animation, or the live action. So I mean, here's the thing: if Ryan Reynolds is doing the live action, then he's going to back it, and if Netflix is doing it, then they're going to back it. That's two double ups. And I mean, on top of that, you saw what happened with Deadpool. Nobody back it. And Ryan Reynolds basically said, "Well, screw it, I'll do it myself." And now he's loaded out the wazoo because of it. Mm-hmm. Not being afraid to take that leap is very important.
I think it's a coin toss, man. I mean, you've convinced me somewhat more so than you had me in the beginning of this conversation. But
I'm just saying.
It's going to take quite a slammer. It's going to take a freaking mic drop of a movie to get people hooked on 2D animation again.
Hey, all I'm saying is, well, see, they're going to test it with Bluth Fables. which means they'll kind of be able to gauge which ones actually draw people in, and then they'll be able to slam it.
Well, let's
And
be honest, dude. The moneymaker is the children. I mean, you and me, we're gonna watch this and we're gonna enjoy the heck out of it. But
yes,
I mean, and we have kids and we're gonna show our kids this. But is your average Joe going to latch onto this and show their kids? Really?
well, see, that's the difference. I think that's what'll make the difference. Being able to do the little Aesop Fables type thing will allow him to, like I said, that's basically a test group. He'll be able to see which one of those actually does very well. And as you can see right here, The Secret of Nihm, The Land Before Time, All Those Go to Heaven, Anastasia, Dragon's Lair, all those things. When he did those were just, hope it does good. He didn't have a massive research and development department to be able to do those things. He just had to jump on what he had. So when he's doing that, I mean, he's just throwing stuff out there, and it still did that well. The Fickle movies, what is it? Coming to, not Coming to America. But you know what I'm saying? What is it? Once Upon a Time in America. That movie did outstandingly well. And so did Land Before Time.
Yeah.
So did All Dogs Go to Heaven. They did outstandingly well. And that was, like I said, those movies, think about it. That is a dinosaur movie, a dog's dying movie, and a rat coming to America movie. They have nothing to do with each other. So that shows he was just throwing out stories he thought worked. And they obviously worked. He just didn't have the backing. So with him having a research and development team, or at least a possibility to do research and development, I don't see how it could.
Yeah. Okay, so my age may be showing. You said you mean an American Tale instead of
Yes,
coming?
American Tale. Not Coming to America.
You mean that
Coming to America. Although I would like an animated version of Coming to America. But
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying. But the point is yeah, I think he's going to have the R&D on this when he's going to be able to test his theories, and he's going to be able to improve upon the theories that work. So I don't see how he can.
Okay. So Jeremy buys into the R&D, the Don Bluth factor, the darkness factor, the allure of it. Me personally, I mean, I buy into that as well, Jeremy. I'm not disagreeing with you. In a perfect world, Don Bluth would still be. I mean, Don Bluth would be like making awesome animations, traditional 2D animations, and still rolling in the dough if it were my world. But this isn't our world, Jeremy. This is the Fickle Masses. This is people who are used and spoiled to 3D animations and lackluster stories and shallow character development. They're not interested in this.
I think that a lot of it's the flavor of the moment. And really and honestly, that's the big thing about this generation, or a lot of the previous generations, is that they're big on what's big. So if all they have to do is make one big thing and they're good for a while. I mean, just being honest, think about, where was Disney before Frozen? What was the last big thing they did? Tangled?
Yeah, I think it was Tangled before Frozen, which Tangled was awesome. Frozen.
Yes, but it wasn't as commercially viable. It was okay, but it was not Frozen. But as soon as Frozen hit, I thought Moana was okay, but it did awesome.
Hey, Moana was awesome.
Yeah.
That's another video.
I love the ride, but and I also love the guy from Flight of the Conchords, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'd say it does it for this. So yeah.
Okay.
But,
so my point is, I agree with you. It's gonna take a slam dunk. It's gonna take perfection, like in that scene at the end of Three Ninjas, whenever he throws the marble into the barrel of a gun. That's exactly what it's going to take. It's going to take.
All I'm saying is,
the barrel.
The marble's about to get thrown. The marble's about to get thrown. So, anyways, that should do it for this one. So we'll let them go. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Let us know in the comments how awesomely right I am and how wrong Seth is. But that'll do. So till next time, I guess. I've been Jeremy Ball.
Yeah, I've been Seth Tallman. I've been several things before, but today I'm Seth Tallman.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Hey there, friends, foes, and all those in between. If you guys want to see more content from us, make sure you subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and if you have any comments or questions that you really want to know, leave them down below. And we'll see you guys next time.